Welcome to the Earthworks Podcast, where our team will share the jargon of carbon from many of our turf friends from the past 30 years.
Hello, Josh.
Jack.
Hey, man.
How's it going, buddy?
Oh, here we are. Round 4, the Earthworks Podcast with Jack Higgins and Josh Saunders.
Here we are.
Yeah, doing it to it. And guess what? You got the Women's U.S. Open in 8 weeks.
Yeah, like 70 days or something like that.
Jeez. Here we go.
Yeah, it's here. I'm excited. I think it's been a long 4 years. A lot of good things have happened, and I'm excited for the community, excited for my staff, and I think it's finally hit me.
Yeah, you got a lot. You got a whole lot going on right in front of you. I know that you just came back from a perfectly timed winter vacation.
That it was.
Down in Jamaica.
That it was. Yeah, man.
Yeah, getting your vibes going.
Yeah, man.
Good. Hey, that, by the way, that was like a veteran move right there.
No, I appreciate it. I needed the little getaway, and went down with Kara, and we had a great trip and a little time with each other before all the madness begins. So, good times.
Yeah, good move. You were able to relax and come back to the property with a whole new perspective.
Well, I think that's when it really officially hit me, right? Because, I had this trip in my mind the whole time, 2 months out, 2.5 months out, and then we had some major freaking delays getting back, and took us about 24 hours to get home. Literally dropped her off, went straight to the club. First USDA meeting. They're laying down roadways. There's trucks everywhere, asphalt trucks, rock trucks, equipment. And I'm
after a red-eye flight home.
After a red-eye flight home from Miami.
Oof.
And, it's here.
Yeah. All right. Well,
I don't know how any other way to word it, buddy. It's here.
It's just here. Yeah, I got you. Well, what was nice is that like last week we had like a good 4 or 5 days of 60, 70 degree weather. Did you see the golf course jump out? How do you feel you're at right now?
Well, honestly, too, dude, that was another good excuse of the getaway, right?
Mm-hmm.
Another good justification of it, because I was gone 5 days and came back, and we were in a great stretch of weather, upper 60s. The big thing was the night temps were warm. So soil temps really jumped over like the last 2 weeks in this region. And being away for 5 days and coming back and seeing that property, it had taken off. And we really started growing, and you could see a lot of green. You could see some areas I needed to address and get out and, get some earthworks out there and
all right,
all that good fun stuff.
Yeah, we'll get into it. Because we want to talk full agronomy program.
Mm-hmm.
In this talk, I kind of want to, I want to get into your agronomy program, everything that you're going to do between now and 70 days from now when it's tournament time.
Well, the first thing I'm going to do is pray a lot.
That's
right?
good.
Because here's the deal. Ultimately, we're all at mercy of Mother Nature, right? So
it is the truth.
We've been battling that all winter, and I think I have the resources and the tools of 20 plus years in the industry and a great relationship with you guys and a great network that, regardless of what gets thrown at us over the next 70 days, we'll be ready.
Well, yes, and that is a wonderful perspective. It's really that's exactly where you want to be with that, because you're right. You're at the whim of how things go, and so. But you've done a lot of work in the last 5 years to get yourself prepared for this and to get the property prepared for this. Maybe we could recap on some of the infrastructure changes that you've made there, and the different kind of construction that you've done in regards to the way the golf course is going to play, and to be able to handle what you're talking about, the weather that comes through, which is flooding at your place. What that means is
you
flood.
had to say it, didn't you? Why did you say it?
Well, it is the definition of Lancaster Country Club, is that Conestoga River that comes through. And yeah, I mean, in 5 years, how many floods have you seen?
I mean, I don't know if it's the definition. I don't think you can define Lancaster Country Club by a river that goes through
All right,
it.
good.
Now, it plays a pretty vital role.
Well, yes,
but you
got 4 holes that go over it.
Yeah, we do. It's so weird too. Like, we went 2 years. So in 2022, I think it was, it all, runs together at this point, right? And like, we had the Hurricane Ida came through, and the third biggest flood in records in history, right?
I mean, whoever hasn't seen your pictures on Twitter and like what we're really talking about here, like, it's kind of something to see. Now, the place handles it is the story.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, there years of work from Nagel and predecessors ahead of me as director. Like, it's definitely well suited to.
But it comes up right up. It comes up over the fairways. On what's the hole along the
number
river?
7.
Yeah, number 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that fairway gets totally covered. It'll come up onto the green. Or not onto the green, but near the green.
On 6, yeah. I mean, I've had, in my 5 years, there's been like 4 floods in which 7's been under. 6 is always the first to go under. And we've had a couple floods where 7, 6, and 5 were underwater. Ida, what I was just referencing, though, it was all the way backed up to 12. So if you think about that in perspective for those that know the property and the layout of LCC, right? Like, that's a good 150, 200 yards from 7 green. But what's so weird about it, Jack, is like, and this is a whole nother conversation later over Guinness, but like, is it global warming? What is it? But like, we went 2 years without a single flood. 2 full years.
Yeah.
And, you just made the reference of it defining Lancaster, right? And we just went 2 years without one. And we've had 5 since December. And here we are in March. And we've had like some good ones, like some that are in the top 10 of records, right? So like, it's been an eventful winter, eventful spring, but
I mean, that's a crazy statement. You're right. Defining Lancaster.
Well,
but like, I'm saying,
we've gone way back, and sometimes I just gotta bring you back to reality, Jack.
No, yeah, you're totally right. You're totally right. It doesn't define Lancaster. What I mean is that if you're taking care of that property, you've got to be ready for the fact that this riverbank is going to flood.
Yeah.
On the regular.
Yeah, it can happen. Hey, we're 70 days away from hosting the Women's Open. How about we talk about something a little more positive, right?
Okay, I don't want to bring you down.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay.
But no, getting back to like, your ultimate first question with renovations and everything. Look, we've, ever since I set foot on that property, the club has really stood by progression, and like, they want to go to the next level. They understand what we're getting ready to host, and it's also just staying relevant in times, right? And like, they've invested a lot into that property, and it's not just the golf course, it's the facilities, and it's the commitment they have to the membership and the community, and like, it's been exciting, it's been fun. But I can tell you this, dude, for the first time in 3 years, we don't have any dirt exposed on property. And like, it's been a great winter for us just to like really focus on infrastructure and giving the place a little facelift, and also recharge our batteries before we go into this stretch.
Interesting.
And it's well deserved, man, because like, it was a big project, and it took a long time, and things happened, and it was prolonged, and like, but you think about from when I sat foot on the property, and we did 13T was our first project. We lengthened that hole 20 some yards, and then you move that into the master facility project, the new pavilion, and all the things that you've seen, and while that was breaking ground, we completely gave the driving range a facelift, and made it like look like a driving range. And
Yeah.
gave it a lot of character. And then, the golf plaza would turning a pool into a 14,500 square foot putting green that now overlooks the whole property. And then you mix in all of that, all the trees we've taken down, in this stage we've created.
All the views that you've created. Yeah.
So, I think all of that plays into, your overall question. And we've just collectively as a unit, from club to me to my management team to the staff, it's going to be an entirely different experience for those women in 2015.
Yeah, that's what's interesting. You mentioned that this is the tightest turnaround between two tournaments hosted by the same club. Is that right?
Yeah, 2 women's opens hosted by the same club within 9 years. So that's
yeah. And what's cool, like you're saying, is they're getting an entirely different place.
Yeah, in my opinion. I mean, look, they loved it in 2015. And I think, not only do they love the golf course and the conditions of the property, they loved the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm. Lancaster.
Yeah, it's still an all-time attendance record for women's golf and for the women's open.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's a big,
it's a big deal.
It's a big feather in the cap. And
this place is so accessible. Like Lancaster, the whole community here, like it's easy to get here from a number of major population
Well, you
centers.
think about it, within 2 hours you got Baltimore, you got Philly,
Jersey.
If you drive like I do, 2 hours in New York City, maybe.
Yeah, all of Jersey, New York, and even Pittsburgh is like 3 hours.
3 hours. So yeah, it's a great location that I think drew a lot of people back then. And I think, not only for those that are coming back in that realm, but the players, I think they're going to really see that, we've kind of brought back the old traditional, the way that collectively a group of individuals within this club felt like this place was when it originated.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And great work by Jim Nagel, and a lot of long days with him and a lot of conversations. And just, I don't really like the word restoration, because I feel like when you say the word restoration for a great old classic club, and you know me, Jack, I'm a huge golfer, and
oh yeah,
I think when you say the word restoration, then that said club has lost its history. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's lost its.
You're not turning over the property. You're not turning over and reshaping holes or anything.
Right. Well, I think it's important to always stay current with technology. So, a lot of the tweaks we made were existing, but we shifted because of technology, right? And, we reinstated 11 original Flynn bunkers,
And all in a way that they can drain. And not those flashes, not totally get totally get every time with thunderstorms.
Capcon's been a huge help.
Oh, that's good.
The bunker project unfortunately kind of lasted a lot longer than we really thought it would, and but the beauty is we got to see the product working as we were working. You know what I mean? Because we'd catch these deluges and we'd catch these storms, and we'd get these major washes, and we got to see it in action. So
yeah,
but 11 bunkers. We added a lot of length. That's going to be another big change for this couple of months. The place is going to play a good 250 to 400 yards longer.
Okay. Yeah, that's a lot.
With, for those that know LCC, 14 uphill second shots, and
wow.
You get a little firmer and a little faster, and you get that little win with our topography, especially since we've taken down a few trees. I think it's going to be a different test for them, for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah.
It's cool. You've got so it's a whole new, there's different shape, there's different length, there's different views, like we're saying, like around the golf course, spectating wise, being able to get around, like you're going to see a whole lot more. You also you do things differently in your annual maintenance, the way that you approach this place,
Right.
and that can affect playability as well. Like for example, I know that a big thing that with when you got here was that you took initial soil tests and saw the organic matter in greens was incredibly low,
Right.
like lower than what you felt comfortable with.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing, if you look at playability from 15 to 24, so let's address that first. Like, those greens were 4 years old.
Okay, they were rebuilt, you're saying?
In 2011. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, there was absolutely no body to them.
And unlike other Flynn classic golf courses in this area, like they were rebuilt to be USGA spec.
Yeah, they were built to USGA spec. They had a lot of contamination over the years with them. So, I mean, I think the idea between, backing in the club and my predecessor is let's improve their drainage. And, let's get to a straight bent grass. So we went to A1, A4.
Because drainage is the name of the game here.
Absolutely.
As is anywhere. But it's always the name of the game here.
Yeah, so I think if you start at that tail of the greens and the putting surfaces, right? Like it wasn't, nothing to do with the past and predecessor or anybody's beliefs. That was the hand he was dealt. He hosted a women's open on greens that were 4 years old.
Yeah.
Which
is that's crazy.
Wow.
It's a really good point.
I saw the coverage. I mean, the place played. You know what I mean? And so I think from my standpoint, now they're almost 10 years older. I mean, well, they're 13 years older, and we're almost 10 years from the championship. Like their greens, obviously, regardless of agronomic beliefs and practices, they've developed, a lot more body with, beneficial organic matter and et cetera, et cetera.
Wow. Earthwork stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I don't, yeah.
No. Also, I mean, I'll throw it out there. You chose to go solid tines for a couple of verifications.
I went 4 years. No. Yeah, 4 years.
Where you didn't pull a plug.
I didn't pull a plug. We pulled our first core in November of 2022. And that was a 3/8. And then we do 3 aerifications a year. We pulled our first core in November, and then I solid tine March, August, and I did a half
at the wintertime.
Yeah, at the wintertime.
So talk to me, because that's kind of a drastic decision.
Yeah.
To say I'm not gonna pull a plug. Most people wouldn't do that, or you wouldn't do that in most situations. Let me say it like that. It's wonderful.
Service with a smile, isn't it great?
It's the best. Thank you, Kara.
Thanks, Kara.
So yeah, that's what we're saying, is that you wouldn't, that's a big decision to say, I'm not pulling a plug. How many superintendents would go 4 years without pulling a plug?
Well, I mean, I think for me and my standpoint is I had a lot of people in my ear of how the place played. And, I had a lot of people, just kind of telling me things. And then obviously when I sent out my first soil test and got those results back and,
quarter percent organic matter.
If not less.
So that is low, man. 25, that is low OM, you
right.
know? So I can imagine that it's hard to find structure in the root zone.
Yeah. I mean, it's just not it's just not the root zone itself. I mean, we're always pushing water management wise to get those roots as deep as we possibly can, right? But for me, from a playability standpoint, it was just that, that upper level. And I think sometimes body gets underappreciated, and like, the more body you have aids in firmness. I also, in my opinion, feel like it reduces the input that we have to put on greens too, which in return eliminates stress, right? Like the more body you have, if you're sound in your water management, then I feel like you're naturally able to have firmer conditions, which means what? Less rolling, less mowing, less height changes, less rolling, all the things that, us crazy madmen superintendents do so much to like put stress on something that, the more body you have, the less input you have to put.
Well, and now it's 5 years on. You've been around long enough to see the difference. I mean, and
absolutely.
Now you're looking at more like 2 to 3% organic matter on these greens.
Yeah. We're still a little inconsistent across the board per se. I mean, it's a very unique property. So like, but yeah, we're over 2 on all putting surfaces now. And there's a huge difference. I mean, people are saying, people are in my ear about that. And like,
well, like you said to start, like to host an open 4 years after a brand new USGA construction is like unheard of, because that's the known fact. Like there's not a lot of stability to a new root zone like that.
Dude. I wouldn't have wanted that hand.
No,
not at all. And like, I think now we're at a good position where, they're healthy. Perk rates haven't really changed. And like, we have such a good root structure that we're ready for anything. And like, people are always asking me, like what's your biggest concern over the next couple of months? And like, what are you most worried about? And like, I'm like, well, I don't think my natives are going to be awake. Like I don't think they're going to show like I would want them to on TV. And, part of this whole project is we've put in probably 11 acres of natives on this property, and like, it's a lot of sod being laid by the staff and like, a lot of seeding and a lot of effort,
hard work.
And like, what I'm getting at is if these are my thoughts, then we've pegged it. You know what I mean? Like a combined effort since 2015, have these putting surfaces ready to host another national championship. Yeah. And, on top of that, the efforts by everybody and what we've done, like this golf course is ready. And honestly, I'm sitting here on what, bud? We just went to Quips, had a couple pints, dinner. It's March 19th.
Yeah.
And my only really concern is our natives.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, right?
It's a wonderful thing.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that's the old, what they all say. If you're worried about the rough, then you must have good putting surfaces.
Right. I mean, you surround yourself with good people. That's what they say, right?
Well,
and they make you look good. But no, we're in a good spot. Like, I'm looking forward to tomorrow and you seeing the place. And like, I think, we got areas of rough that need to wake up.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of, and it's that time of year that you just want. Normally for me, I would let the natural progression happen.
Mm-hmm.
I would utilize programs that, encourage the natural thing to happen.
Well, so what was your last fertilizer application? Like we're talking
we
fairways, rough.
We did A22 wall to wall.
Okay.
Early December.
Yep.
You know,
And like a half pound of that in early December.
Yep,
Yeah.
Yep.
And you're already out of dormancy, you're saying?
For the most part. I mean, you know, I think all of us would agree when you have construction, that's always the last to wake up, right? Because
new
you're altering fucking. Oops, sorry, America. Didn't mean to do that. But you know, you're altering 100 years of, you know, natural love.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Yeah.
And you know, when you strip all that, you know, we strip all that away, it's all of those areas are the last to wake up, and our bunker faces are kind of weak right now, but yeah, I mean,
was that sod that was laid in the, I guess, over the last couple years, right?
Right, throughout the renovation.
Yeah, which has been like 2-3 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's tough. I mean, they're just there are a lot of new shapes to those bunkers. A lot of new soil.
Yeah, there's a lot of shapes and a lot of faces, and you
Right.
know, like it's, you know, they were all pretty much rebuilt. I mean, we kept the cavity of majority of the bunkers the same. You know, but you know, I'll one up you there too, buddy. I think regardless of what you're altering earth-wise there, when you're bringing in a sod material from an entirely different growing environment, entirely different soil structures,
you have to marry the two,
yeah,
which is a whole nother process.
You got to adapt, right?
Yeah, it's like more work.
Right.
Good point.
You got to think. You got to think more about it. So, you know, I think in a lot of cases for us, it's more of that than the restructuring of the soil.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's just like getting your sod layers down.
Right.
The whole
right.
thing. Yeah. All right. That's interesting. So that's like when you're waking up in the morning and walking the golf course, like these are the things you're seeing in the last week or two.
Yeah.
Like,
it's just
like new constructed areas.
new construction, bunker faces, a little slow. You know, very happy with how the playing surfaces are waking up.
How many mows have you done at this point?
3 cuts on pretty much everything except tees. I mean, you know,
Tees are slow.
tees are always slow.
Boo.
Yeah, they're, you know, I don't really know. I could come up with a very funny story right now, but I might offend somebody. Right?
I don't know why it is, but like everywhere, every golf course, like tees are always the last to come out, you know?
They were kind of like me in high school. Very slow.
A late bloomer.
But very important in the end game.
Oh, yeah,
right?
that's right.
You can't play golf
No,
unless
you
you
can't.
tee it up.
No, you can't. You got to tee it up.
Just saying.
Nice solid tee surface.
You got it.
Oh, that's good. So from here on out, man, what are we looking like? I mean, we're 70 days out.
Yeah.
Yeah. What does it look like from here?
Well, you know,
You said you woke up. Like,
yeah, we woke up. I mean, honestly, I think a lot of it's on Mother Nature, and I think a lot of it's on trusting your process, right? And like,
well, let's get into the process.
you got it. I mean, I think it started last fall, and you know, measures and inputs we took to close out the year with good dormant feed of A22, and we you know, did some seed head sprays in the rough, which traditionally we don't do.
Okay,
and haven't
that's an
done.
interesting thing because I actually have a note here that says POA in the rough.
Oh man, do you remember that? Or my first year?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I
Like,
was trying to figure out a way to casually bring this up.
like if you could call Pete right now
Mm-hmm.
and get his remarks and then like cycle them into this podcast,
Okay.
that'd be a pretty cool moment because like I remember calling him, you know, I started February 25th, I believe, 2019. And I remember calling him like probably the second week, it was around Mother's Day when I first started. And I was like,
Well, that's seed head season right there, right?
And I'm like, I came from Pittsburgh. You
You
know
would
what I
think,
mean? Like,
yeah.
I came from Pittsburgh where you went to bed one night and you woke up.
It looked like it snowed.
It looked like a dusting.
Yeah.
It was like nuts. But when you interview, and this is a good lesson for those, those assistants getting ready to make the steps, or other superintendents, climbing the ladder and getting their next gig, right? Like, it's the worst thing about this industry is 9 times out of 10 you interview for jobs in like November or December, when what are you really seeing?
Yeah, you don't know what the turf is like.
Now, granted, I walked around LCC with like this, bright-eyed pep in my step. They're hosting the Women's Open. I'm interviewing for this job. So, honestly, buddy, maybe I just didn't even notice how
It
much
wouldn't have
Poe.
mattered.
Yeah,
It
right.
wouldn't have mattered.
Maybe I just didn't even notice how much Poe was in the rough.
But this is the big thing, or that
Right,
it was.
but
I don't know. It was in 2000.
It was. I called Pete and I was like, dude, I cannot believe I'm going to have this golf course on television.
Because it's
know.
just like pits everywhere.
Right,
You
it
got
was
you
like-
got your
yeah.
POA pit.
Well, there's just so much water goes through that topography, and
So anywhere that might have held any amount of moisture on any of these 95-degree days that
Right.
come after the
Yeah.
flood or after the thunderstorm or after the whatever,
Right.
like they're POA at this point.
and on top of that, you just lack of light.
Yeah, trees, the whole
Yeah,
thing. Now
right.
you took down a
So-
bunch of trees, but tell me about the turf stand. Like, how is it? Is it different there?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've definitely made improvements on it. I mean, through practices, through introduction of turf type tall fescue, we pretty strong seed program my first few years there.
PGR program for the POA.
No, like I said, last fall was the first time I treated for seed heads.
Okay.
We go back to what I was saying earlier, and I will always have an old school mentality and believe in less inputs, and I believe you're growing and you're maintaining an overall living organism in an ecosystem, and let it do its thing and let it tell you. And I think here we go again. It always sets me up that I'm blowing smoke up your ass, but it's the same talk I'd be having with my assistants right now, and I think that's why I'm such a big fan of Earthworks.
Cool.
I just believe in everything I've learned, and honestly, maybe it's because it's the only thing I've learned in 20-some years since being back at Kinlock, but
Well, you've seen it work.
it does work. I mean,
Yeah.
it does. But
So you do have you've encouraged more turf type tall fescue in these stands, and more importantly, what you're saying is that you've made the root zone accept the moisture and manage
Right.
that kind of deluge
Yeah.
and drought a little bit better.
I mean, it's
so
give
that
or take. I mean, I think definitely the water management during the stressful periods. I mean, last season we went through 2 pretty extensive droughts. Obviously some POA's going to suffer from that, and and then on top of that, and this is a touchy subject, but the more light you have, the more sun,
it's way better.
the more chance, for what's there to not survive, and definitely reduces those trying to come to survive, right? So I think that's probably been the biggest change for the property and helping the rough, to be honest with you.
Okay, cool. Opening up the canopy so
Yeah,
that
yeah, absolutely.
the more aggressive grasses that you're seeding into
Right.
it can out compete the POA.
Yep.
Great.
You got it, dude.
Well, that's good. So yeah. So you
Yeah,
got
so
that.
I mean, that was pretty much last fall, right? We just did a good solid dormant feed, wall to wall. Had a great aerification in November. Last minute, I decided not to really do anything to the greens. Not like I was planning at all. So I just did one final little deep tine and, did a solid 3/8 small core, and like, we put her to bed for the winter. And like, like I said earlier too, like it was the first winter we didn't have any construction or dirt exposed. So like, it's been a great winter for us and kind of focusing on things. And now here we are. And I think we got a good, solid game plan.
What happens between now and then? Do you aerify? Are you?
No, I'm not going to disturb anything.
Okay.
I think we're right where we want it from firmness, and we've been top dressing a lot over the winter.
And we're looking at a May 28th. Is that the date? What?
So like, it's
Advance
a week.
week.
It's a week for me. So like, I just referenced Memorial Day.
Right.
That's the Monday. So it's May 27th.
Yep.
That's the week. So, we're 70 days out, and like, we've got some seed head sprays out already on playing surfaces and rough.
Cool.
Haven't done any kind of food on them yet. Still on the fence a little bit whether I want to do a wall-to-wall, especially in the rough, of dormant feed.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily dormant feed at this point, obviously, but
Of like a spring feed, yeah.
yeah, give it a shot of A22. And
Yeah,
like,
which is what we're going to look at tomorrow.
right. But, honestly, like, too, I think another important part of my thought process is like, so we're hosting an event May 27th through June 2nd,
Mm-hmm.
right? That week. It's 6 weeks earlier than it was in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
It's an entirely different golf course, entirely different growing environment, entirely different weather pattern. So like, my mindset also is like, you know what? Come June 3rd, USGA's out.
Right.
Right? This thing's over.
Yeah, you got a whole season's
Shit,
worth.
I got member guests 3 weeks later. You know what I mean? So like, and then you have July and August right on the doorstep. So like,
It actually works out well for your membership, honestly.
Absolutely.
Because they get the championship golf course for the rest of the year.
They do. Well, I would hope any of them would tell you they have a championship golf course every day.
Okay.
Of every year. But, there you go again. You want to talk about floods now?
Sorry, bro.
Well, we can talk about them if you want to.
Oh, Josh, yeah, you make the best golf course every day. My bad, man. Okay, yes, but cool and also hard. You're right. You've got to turn this place around quick.
So, I think
you're looking past the tournament.
I just want to make sure we're not doing things now that are going to hurt us afterwards. And like, that's what I keep reminding the guys about. And like, patience is virtue. And, I've said it multiple times in all of our podcasts. I think that's ultimately the foundation of Earthworks, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess you're right. Like, you're working with nature, so like you work on nature's time.
Yeah, let it do it. And like, we got some tricks up our sleeve, like for the first time I've always been a Mag Vantage guy early in the year and late in the year.
Yeah, you like that spray. Good.
I do. I like it.
Well, it's a POA program, to tell you the truth.
Well,
like it's good for. You don't have a lot of POA on greens, but whatever.
Not on Flynn,
you
but
use
on
that,
Highlands.
and you did use it in Longview too.
Right. So I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just believe in the chlorophyll aspect and
it works.
Waking things up faster. And I've never stayed in season with it. So like, this is going to be a first for me this year, but it's also the ability to have the support of the club and having a little more financial measures going into the Open than you traditionally do. So we're also able to do some things that we know work. I mean, earthworms are awful for us in the spring and the fall, especially the start of the year. So we're going out like every other week with C3.
Yes.
And I mean, huge fan of that. The proof's in the pudding with that. So like, all these little things I'm excited about that we don't necessarily get the opportunity to do year in, year out.
You're like a kid in a candy shop now.
It's fun, dude.
Oh, that's good.
And like, it's not just Earthworks, right?
Yo,
like,
it's all the stuff you like using.
Man, like,
Hey, let's see what this would do if we do it again.
And I'll take it from there too, Jack. I mean, not only my relationship with you guys and like you know, the support you give me over the years and what you guys are doing for LCC with the Open.
Thank
right?
you. Yeah.
But all my other friends out there and like all our other sponsors, right? Like, you know, everyone has a tournament. I got a lot of great friends, and a lot of great friends are going to listen to this, and others that have hosted events. But, you know, for a club like us in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, to raise over $150,000 from our vendors to be sponsors for this event, and like, we're going to put on a great show for the rest of this turf community, right? Like, you know, it's going
to be fun. I'm
looking
forward to it.
It's going to be so much fun, dude. Food trucks every night, local food trucks every night.
Yeah, we're going to have a good time out here in Lancaster.
Southern style breakfast every morning. Like, come on, dude.
And you have people coming in from around the country too. For this.
Yeah, we got a few coming from out of the country.
Oh, that's great.
It's gonna be a good mix. We got about 75 volunteers. On top of my staff, we'll be about 115, 120 deep.
Okay, so 115 every day setting up the golf course.
Yep. Well, I say that, but you know, Rich has about 16 in the shop with him.
Okay.
So let's get our number.
Checking cuts.
Yeah,
doing the whole thing.
Let's get our number right back down to 100.
Rich, of course, your wonderful mechanic.
Yeah. Good old Richard.
Yeah, good deal. We're going to hear more from him when we set up.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
All right, good. Well, you brought up labor. Before we get wrapped up here, man, I do want to talk about labor because you told me earlier that you got thrown a monkey wrench this year. And with H2B labor.
Yeah, so, you know, every year is different for those that are especially familiar with the H2B process. I mean, you know, we're in a market like everyone that really can't find consistent labor, unfortunately. And, you know, so we do try to get supplemental help with getting the H2B guys every year. So we go through the process. It starts in August, and you know, it's funny because for like the last 8 years, when you wake up on January 2nd or 3rd, you kind of know your fate for the year because that's when the lottery process of the H2B is. And last year we got A, and I remember calling Matt, and, you know, Matt, my superintendent, been with me for a long time, and calling him and was like, dude, I don't know what to think right now because I wish this was the call I was making to you next year. And this year we got F. So, like, you know, no chance at getting the guys, and we're fully aware of that. And
so that's 10 spots on your crew, you
10
said.
spots that, you know, they were here in 2015.
Ooh, these guys know what they're doing.
Oh, not only do they know what they're doing, but they experienced it, and, like, you know.
Oh, they're a part of the team.
They're a part of the team. This is everything to them.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you know, feel really rough for them. There's still a chance we can get them. You know, there's a second relief that we're going through that we'll file on April 22nd with a chance of getting here on May 15th. So, you know, knock on wood, hopefully they're here 2 weeks before the event. But, you know, it's just really unfortunate. But, you know, as I told the staff, like, here's the deal. This isn't our first rodeo. We go through this every year. You know, some years we get them here in April. Some years we get them here in June. You know, I looked at my core group of full-timers and said, look, let me remind you of 2020. When it was COVID, it was just us all the way until late June. Like, I didn't even have the opportunity to hire other individuals. So there was 11 of us that took care of 400 acres of property. You know, like, everyone has a story with COVID, right?
For sure, yeah.
So, you know, it's not just us, but...
Well, but this year you're hosting a Women's Open.
We are. We are, but you know what, Jack?
Well, tell me. Tell me what you got.
I mean... Yeah, we're hosting a Women's Open, but it's also just remembering the present and where you're at, right? And, like, you know, we've done it before, and I wanted to remind that. You kind of have to take the approach of, like, you know, well, to be honest with you, I say it to them all the time. When I'm freaking out, you guys should freak out. Like, you know, and I'm not freaking out. So like,
you're like the old wise man on the crew, huh? Is that what you're saying?
do you remember when I walked into Longview? Another great call with Pete that you should have recorded, because I mean, I was the youngest on staff by like 13, 15 years.
Oh man.
Right? And like, but yeah, I guess I am the old wise man
Yeah,
now.
I guess so. Well, you told me a great story before about the H2B scene, and that you, from an industry colleague, he offered you help.
Yeah, well, that's the other beauty about it. I mean, yes, we're hosting the Open, you know, and I've worked my entire career, you know, for this moment, and I've also been very fortunate to develop a very great network over my entire career. And I know my assistants and my management team under me and that's worked for me is part of that as well, and they're part of all of that. And like, you know, once it kind of caught wind that I didn't get the guys, right? Like, you know, I got some phone calls obviously from a lot of friends, but one of them in particular was a great friend that I met actually lobbying for H2B.
That's nuts.
And you know, he got Group A, and you know,
so he did well by the lottery.
He won the lottery.
There you go.
That's one way to look at it, right? And he called me up, and I'm gonna have some help to get me by for a couple of weeks, and you know, if needed.
Yeah, right.
You know,
right.
so
it's just so awesome that like you met him lobbying. You said that you were the only two guys that went.
Yeah, we were the only ones there for the organization that we were part of that was
from Pennsylvania.
From Pennsylvania, right? And like, you know, it's one of those like normal deals, and we all go through it. It's like meeting the non-superintendent, but is a golfer somewhere.
Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah, because you know, as soon as he found out that I was a superintendent, right, like the green light and jackpot went off, right? Like jackpot.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah,
this guy knows what I love.
Yeah,
and like
I get
he
to
does
go
it.
play his golf course. Oh, you're the director at Lancaster Country Club? No way!
Nice.
You know, like we were immediately best friends.
Yeah, that's great.
But yeah, it was a great day, man. We really hit it off, and we've been great friends since. We've gone on a lot of golf trips, and you know, he was actually down a couple weeks ago and had dinner, and we grilled some steaks and all that good fun stuff. And yeah, very fortunate with that. And honestly, you know, here's the deal. I hate it for those guys because they were here in 15, but I got a great team around me, and we're fine.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna be ready, and you just kind of got to believe in your past experiences and utilize your network. And remember, you know, it's just like riding a bike at a lot of times, right? Like, here's the other thing that I'm telling all the guys, like all the assistants, like every other year we'd be hosting the member guests the next weekend.
Right.
Every other year.
Yeah,
we'd
good
be
point.
hosting the member guests.
It's like you're doing tournament prep at the same time of year for the same sort of like setup. Like you're making the golf course as good as it can be.
Yeah, it's just, you know, the difference this time is like, you know, there's going to be like 135,000 people throughout the week, and like, you know,
we're gonna tear up the rest of the golf course too.
Yeah, right. And we'll that's a post-open podcast.
Yeah, good call.
But you know, like it's, dude, I can't tell you how excited I am, man.
Woo!
You know, like it's
I'm looking forward to it too.
Right. Like I'm really, really, really excited for the staff. You know, we've been through a lot over 5 years.
Yes, you have.
You know, from renovation
to some really heavy stuff,
some COVID to tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you know, I'm really excited to be a part of that week with the group. But ultimately, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, it's for the community.
Yeah.
You know,
it
really is.
You told me something earlier tonight that I thought was kind of like a mission statement, that it was like, I want to put the best foot forward on this golf course, and I want to present the best property for this Women's Open, because this is a really great event for the Lancaster community, like for LCC and the greater community here. That's gonna like.
So here's what I'll tell you: when I had my final interview here, I looked at that search committee and said, I don't think you realize the property that you have.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I love golf. I play golf. I've been very fortunate to work on a lot of properties and play a lot of fantastic properties.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And like, I knew when I set foot here. And then as I've worked here and I've heard all these stories of what 2015 was like and what it was this and what it was that, from meeting friends. And then like, you know, as my personal life grew and I got even more involved with the community because she's in the community, like, I just really, really started to appreciate how big this moment is.
Yeah, great. Because you live right here by the course.
Yeah.
It's really.
But I think to my point earlier that I made to you was like, now that we're here and I've been a lot more involved the last 2 years with the USGA, I also see this direction
Mm-hmm.
that the USGA is going, and it's not a knock. It's professional golf. It's women's golf, and they want to play the storied places too, right? So like, we're not necessarily on the same realm as the Marions in the world and the Oakmonts of the world, or those storied places, but Lancaster has a story.
For sure.
And they created it in 2015. So right now I just feel this sense of pride and like weight for the community.
Yeah.
To
You're gonna do a great job.
To put on the best show ever, to do my part in making sure that this championship or some championship returns to Lancaster.
Well, and you're hosting a bunch of friends, and we're all gonna have a really good time out here. We're gonna go after it.
It's gonna be a great week. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Looking forward to the shows during the week. I think it's, give you guys some opportunity to kind of hear from some other people in the staff and their journey, and
yep,
we'll have some friends there too.
That's the idea.
So get some dual action. We got to come up with a catchy slogan. Campfire by Yosha's RV, or
all right,
something in those nature.
Yeah, I like it. We're gonna do a whole series with everybody at the event. We're gonna get some more guys from your crew in on the talk.
Yeah, dude, it's gonna be so much fun.
Yes.
Here's this may be the only time I get to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I've gone about this entire week that I want it to be memorable. I want it to be fun. I want to surround myself with those that helped me get here. And I want to, let my staff have a lot of fun with it too. So, it's going to be fun. I have a great college friend that's going to be with me throughout the week.
Awesome.
Handling all my social media content. You even asked me earlier today, and others have, like, are you going to be able to fly the drone this week?
Yeah, because we all know you to do such great drone work.
I know, but and thank you, but I just can't. I think I got a few other responsibilities.
So you're not going to fly the drone, but that drone's going to fly.
There will be a drone flying as long as the USGA doesn't shut it down. Yes, sir.
Okay, cool.
No, I got a good buddy from college that I went to college with, who's local, photographer in the area, does a lot of weddings, had a big presence in the local media, was big, and it's stuff like that. And he has a good friend that he's done a lot of work with as a videographer. So yeah, we're gonna have a lot of fun in the social media world. a lot of drone footage, a lot of hype, and a lot of action for the volunteers throughout the week. So
Nice.
it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a cool experience.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, and you're going to hear more from us on the Earthworks podcast.
Yeah, dude, it's gonna be great. You guys setting up shop, maybe hopefully Joel making an appearance.
Oh, he'll be out.
And yeah, we'll have a fun few days. I'm sure there'll be a star-studded stop by and cast at the what did we call it? The Campfires by Yosha's RV.
Yeah.
Soon to come. Stay tuned, folks.
Stay tuned. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning into the Earthworks podcast, and enjoy.